Hello viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, a show where we will provide you with fresh insights into South Asia's geopolitical, strategic and security situation. Let's take a look at the headlines first. India remembers the victims of 26/11 terror attacks in Mumbai on the 15th anniversary of the incident. Encounter breaks out in South Kashmir's Pulwama district, one Lashkar terrorist neutralized. And Baloch community presents united front against Pakistan's oppression. On the 15th anniversary of the Mumbai terror attack, India remembered the horrific tragedy that claimed the lives of 166 people. 15 years ago, on November 26, 2008, 10 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists had stormed into Mumbai to wreck the city completely. Mumbai was in the grip of terror for 4 consecutive days. For those who experienced one of the most horrific assaults on Indian territory, the memory of the vicious assault is still vivid. A report.
On November 26, 2008, one of the deadliest terror attacks on Indian soil occurred in Mumbai. The attack claimed the lives of 166 people, including foreign nationals, while injuring over 300 others. The attacks were carried out by 10 Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists who sailed into Mumbai from the Pakistani port city of Karachi. The Indian security forces killed 9 terrorists, but one Ajmal Kasab was apprehended alive. Following a trial, he was hanged on November 21, 2012, 4 years later. On the 15th anniversary of the attack, India paid tributes to the people who lost their lives in the horrific attack. Senior state politicians, including Maharashtra's Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, laid wreaths and paid tribute to the victims at a martyrs' memorial in the premises of the Police Commissioner Office in South Mumbai. Mumbai has moved on, but the wounds will never go away. For those who experienced one of the most horrific assaults on Indian territory, the memory of the vicious assault is still vivid.
तो उस बैठे थे, उससे खटखट आया, तभी क्रिकेट चल रहा था, खटखट आया, पानी मेरे पति उठे, खाने पे उठे, उसको पानी दिया, उन लोग पे हिंसा थे कि नहीं, पानी दिया उसको, वो बैठे, फिर उसको पानी देके बैठे, पी के बोले गिलास रख देंगे सर, उनको लगा होगा ऐसा, और उसने पीछे से उनको गोली मार दी.
6 Israeli citizens were among those killed during the attack when terrorists held residents captive at the Jewish Outreach Center of Nariman House. Paying tribute to the victims of attack, Consul General of Israel to Midwest India, Kobi Shoshani said that DNA of both India and Israel is the foundation of strong bond between the two nations. Shoshani also drew a comparison between the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai with the recent October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas.
Today, 26/11, our heart is with India. Our heart is with Mumbai. Our heart with the people who killed, murdered here by terrorists, and that's the most important thing. And I think that always the bond between India and Israel is not only because we are brother in the age or because of our history, because of our DNA. To fight against terrorism is the most important thing.
Pakistan has gained the international reputation of being the world's foremost exporter of jihadism. While analyzing the causes and consequences of this phenomenon, numerous observers find that there are clear indicators that the Pakistani government is involved in sponsoring terrorism. Despite criticism, Pakistan continues to host wanted terrorists and criminals like gangster Dawood Ibrahim, Mumbai terror attack mastermind Hafiz Saeed, and Chief of Hizbul Mujahideen Saeed Salahuddin. Moreover, Pakistan has denied the presence of several individuals on its soil who have been designated as terrorists by India. For Pakistan, considering some terrorists as instruments of regional influence while fighting others has had disastrous consequences. According to a report by Islamabad-based Independent Center for Research and Security Studies, the number of fatalities from terrorist attacks in Pakistan this year has increased by 19% compared to 2022. Most nations try to learn from their past, but Pakistan is determined not to do so.
And now let's talk about the people of Balochistan and the perpetual pain and torture they suffer at the hands of the Pakistan Army and ISI. Baloch human rights organizations and activists living in exile worldwide have emphasized and ensured that the atrocities by Pakistan's army and inter-services intelligence are brought to light. Furthermore, the Balochis living in Pakistan have also ensured to hold the most powerful institution of the country accountable for the war crimes and atrocities. A report.
The people of Balochistan have repeatedly been the victims of targeted killings for a long time. The most recent addition to such events was the killing of Shoaib Abdul Hamid in the Kech district of the province. This time, the human right wing of Baloch national movement known as PANG in a recent Twitter statement alleged that the Pakistani army was behind the entire event, calling it an act of human rights violations. PANG also expressed its severe concern and condemnation over the matter and demanded urgent attention for the deteriorated security situation for the people of Balochistan. The recent chain of events in which Baloch individuals fall victims to targeted killings proves that Balochistan has been on the receiving end of atrocities and war crimes. The killing of Hamid was the 13th incident of extrajudicial killings in the month of November. Experts believe that such acts are Pakistan's way of suppressing the voice of Balochistan to gain freedom from Islamabad's rule.
पाकिस्तान एक जो इस्लामिक रियासत अपने आप को कहलाती है, उसने बलूचिस्तान को बजोर ताकत अगेंस्ट द विल ऑफ द पीपल ऑक्युपाई किया हुआ है। तो जहां पर ऑक्युपेशन होती है तो वहां पर रेजिस्टेंस होती है। तो बलोचों ने जो रेजिस्टेंस सिंस 1948, जब फरवरी जो है ना 1948 में पाकिस्तान ने बजोर ताकत बलूचिस्तान को कब्जा किया, उस वक्त से बलोच उस जो है ना कब्जा गिरियत के खिलाफ रेजिस्ट कर रहे हैं। जो डेली बेसिस पे ये सिस्टमेटिक जो वहां पर हो रहा है कि नॉर्मली मिलिट्री कॉल करती है कि हम इस एरिया पे ऑपरेशन करना चाहते हैं, वो गांव हो शहर हो, उसको चारों तरफ से कॉर्डन ऑफ कर देते हैं। कॉर्डन ऑफ के बाद फिर पहले जो है ना हेलीकॉप्टरों से और अपने जो इनके पास जंगी जहाज हैं जिनको यूएस और दूसरी रियासतों ने उनको एड की सूरत में दी है या ट्रेड की सूरत में उन्होंने परचेज की है, तो उनके जरिए वो उन गांवों देहातों को और शहरों के ऊपर बमबारी करते हैं। बमबारी के बाद फिर हैवी जो है ना आर्टिलरी का इस्तेमाल किया जाता है और एट द एंड ये जब पहुंच जाते हैं घरों में, जो कुछ बचा हुआ होता है उसको लूट लेते हैं और इंसानों को, मर्द बच्चे औरतें, उनको जो है ना ये उठा लेते हैं, जिसको हम लोग इन्फोर्स्ड डिसअपीयरेंसेस कहते हैं।
Such targeted extrajudicial killings have been a long-standing reality for the people of Balochistan. Merely days prior to this incident, several Baloch activists had claimed that the Pakistan Army had orchestrated the killings of Baloch individuals traveling by car for a family function. Contrary to the claims, the Pakistan Army has been calling these acts of violence against the Baloch community their strategy of countering terrorism, also calling it an essential and valorous act for peacekeeping. However, the world here fails to recognize that the ultimate sufferer in all this is the Baloch community, because every time anything like this happens, one of their own gets killed. To show their aggression against such incidents, the Baloch community recently organized massive sit-ins and protests in Turbat city of the Balochistan province. And as an act of retaliation, the families of the victims of Kech targeted killings have refused to perform the last rites of their loved ones until they get justice. Similarly, the members of the Baloch National Movement also organized a protest in London, chanting slogans against the horrors that the Baloch community face in Pakistan. By organizing such protests, the Baloch community aims to attract international attention to atrocities that are faced by their brethren back home. Meanwhile, Islamabad High Court Judge Justice Mohsin Akhtar Kayani expressed his extreme anger and frustration over recent case enforced disappearances. According to media reports from Pakistan, the court has warned that if the government fails to ensure the safe recovery of 28 missing Baloch students, the court would order the registration of an FIR against the Pakistan's caretaker PM Anwarul Haq Kakar.
हम लोग सुनते हैं कि आज इस गांव में, आज इस देहात में, आज इस शहर से मिलिट्री ऑपरेशन हुई और इतने लोग अगवा हुए, जिसमें जो है ना अब जो तादाद है डिफरेंट जो है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस की तरफ से, क्योंकि वहां पर प्रॉपर न कोई इंटरनेशनल इदारे को नहीं जो है ना लोकल इदारे को अलाउ है कि वो इस हवाले से कोई रिपोर्टिंग कर सके, कोई डॉक्यूमेंट कर सके। तो जो हमारे पास सिविल सोसाइटी से और मुख्तलिफ NGO से रिपोर्ट्स आती हैं, खासतौर पर वॉइस फॉर बलोच मिसिंग पर्सनस जो फैमिली मेंबर्स का एक वो है इदारा है, कि अप्रॉक्सीमेटली मोर देन जो है ना 55,000 बलोच पीपल इंक्लूडिंग वुमेन एंड चिल्ड्रन दे आर विक्टिम ऑफ इन्फोर्स्ड डिसअपीयरेंसेस। तो उसमें ये अब तो रिपोर्ट्स बहुत ज्यादा हैं, बहुत सारी केसेस है जो है ना इंसिडेंट्स ऐसी हैं कि वहां पर खवातीन को जो टॉर्चर सेलों में रखते हैं तो सेक्सुअली अब्यूज करते हैं, जिसका मैं खुद एक विटनेस हूँ। मैं खुद 2 साल तक तकरीबन मिलिट्री जो है ना पाकिस्तान की ISI और MI के हाथों एक अगवाशुदा पर्सन हो, उन्होंने अगवा किया था और वहां पर मुझे फोर्स किया था कि एक बलोच लेडी को आप सेक्सुअली अब्यूज करें।
Similar voices are raised by activists at the United Nations year after year, expressing how the Balochis are being mistreated. But the recent incidents of targeted killings prove that the one responsible behind such killings is not ready to stop anytime soon.
And India's policy of zero tolerance when it comes to terrorism has been evident and unbiased, no matter the cost. Be it on its own turf or on international platforms, New Delhi has never backed down from condemning any forms of terrorism and violence. India's resilient efforts on counter-terrorism were demonstrated recently by Ruchira Kamboj, the permanent representative of India to the United Nations, when she was representing India's take on the Israel-Hamas conflict. To delve in the matter further, let's take a look at this report.
India is a country that has suffered because of terrorism and violence on various fronts. However, even in the worst of circumstances, New Delhi has never refrained from taking all the necessary steps to counter terrorism at all cost and on all platforms. Be it the cross-border terrorism or violence instigated by its geographical neighbor Pakistan, which has been proven again and again to be sponsor, harbor and protect terrorism, which are the key bearers of violence around the world. Or be it the use of extremely violent and inhuman measures used on both sides of the ongoing Israel-Palestine. India, being a victim of terrorism and violence, has always understood that the ultimate sufferer in all of these incidents is the general public, which always has to pay the ultimate cost every time. Indian diplomats once again presented its firm stance against violence and terrorism on an international platform when Ruchira Kamboj, the permanent representative of India to the United Nations, represented India's take on the occasions of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people.
We are gathered today, Mr. President, at a time when the security situation in the Middle East is deteriorating due to the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, with a large-scale loss of civilian lives, especially women and children, and an alarming humanitarian crisis. This is clearly unacceptable, and we have indeed strongly condemned the death of civilians. We are aware, Mr. President, that the immediate trigger were the terror attacks in Israel on 7 October, which were shocking and deserve our unequivocal condemnation. There can be no justification for terrorism and hostage-taking. Our thoughts are with those who have been taken as hostages. While we welcome the news of the release of the hostages, we also call for the immediate and unconditional release of the remaining hostages. India has a zero-tolerance approach to terrorism. We also believe that there is a universal obligation to observe international humanitarian law.
India in the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict has always refrained from picking favorites and instead has always voted for a two-state solution for the matter so that no one in this conflict has an objection over the ultimate result. Furthermore, New Delhi has always made sure to support the resolution of this conflict only through dialogue and diplomacy, ensuring that it does not justify or support the use of violence in any way.
Along with restraint, they have also emphasized a peaceful resolution of the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. India also urges the parties to work toward creating conditions necessary for peace and the restarting of direct negotiations between the parties, including through an eschewing of violence and de-escalation. India has always supported a negotiated two-state solution to the Israel-Palestine issue, leading to the establishment of a sovereign, independent and viable state of Palestine living within secure and recognized borders side by side in peace with Israel.
Even in the past, Indian diplomats have always supported a two-state solution in the matter of Israel and Palestine. Another Indian diplomat, Yojana Patel, who represented India previously in the United Nations, had presented India's similar views on the matter. Yet again, India's justification over the two-state solution for the Israel-Palestine conflict. Meanwhile, India has also demonstrated a strong opposition on the matters of the Khalistan propaganda, even when it is being protected and supported by many countries like the United Kingdom, the United States and Canada. Previously, the Prime Minister of Canada had blamed India for the death of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar living in Canada. Since then, India has been regularly warning these democracies to not let the Khalistani propaganda and terrorism spread their roots in their countries. India has been employing a rather different approach to stop on-ground terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan has repeatedly tried to disrupt the peace and stability of the Union territory. Moreover, it is because of India's such resilient and consistent efforts that its opinion in the matters of international peace has gained significant importance. Meanwhile, its strong and intricately designed system of counter-terrorism on the border has finally gotten India the peace that it had longed for.
And now let's move to Jammu and Kashmir, where a Lashkar terrorist was killed in an encounter with the security forces. Police records indicate his involvement in several terror-related crimes. Meanwhile, army personnel are now supervising the training of village defence committee members near the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. A report.
On November 30th, an encounter broke out between terrorists and security forces in South Kashmir's Pulwama district. As per reports, firefights started after the police and security forces launched a search operation in Arihal village. A Lashkar terrorist identified as Kifayat Ayub was killed. Kifayat was the resident of Shopian. His body was recovered from the encounter site. Police records indicate his involvement in several terror-related crimes. Significant incriminating materials, along with arms and ammunition, including 1 pistol, 2 magazines, 5 RDS, 2 grenades, were seized from the encounter site. All recovered items are now part of the case records for further investigation.
कल शाम को पुलिस को एक इत्तला मिली थी स्पेसिफिक रिगार्डिंग द मूवमेंट ऑफ टेररिस्ट इन अरिहाल एरिया. तो वहाँ पे सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस ने अलॉन्ग विद आर्मी और सीआरपी पुलिस ने वहाँ उसको कॉर्डन करा. तो कॉर्डन में जब सर्च चल रहा था तो वहाँ पे जो है एक्सचेंज ऑफ फायर हुआ। उस एक्सचेंज ऑफ फायर में एक एनकाउंटर शुरू हुआ जो कि रात तक चलता रहा, और एनकाउंटर सुबह जब सर्च ऑपरेशंस जब कंक्लूड हुए तो एक बॉडी जो है वो रिट्रीव हुई अलॉन्ग विद आर्म्स एंड एमुनेशन। लेटर ऑन जो आइडेंटिटी आई है जो टेररिस्ट की, ही इज़ किफ़ायत बिलोंगिंग टू LET एंड ही वाज कैटेगराइज्ड टेररिस्ट।
According to reports, Pakistan is changing its strategy to foment trouble in Jammu and Kashmir by sending highly trained and well-equipped terrorists through its approach of Bleed India with 1,000 cuts. Recently, security forces had seized a box containing arms, ammunition and explosive along the line of control near Akhnoor, near Jammu city. According to the police, the box appeared to have been dropped by a drone from the Pakistan side. The box contained 1 pistol, 2 magazines and 38 rounds besides 9 grenades. The searches were launched soon after a drone from the Pakistan side was spotted over the area. Army personnel are now supervising the training of Village Defence Committee members near the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir.
चुनौती की बात करें तो इस समय ठंड भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो ठंड में हमें अलर्ट कर दिया गया है। जैसे कि अभी पीछे कालाकोट में हुआ हादसा, कालाकोट में हादसा होने के बाद हमें अलर्ट कर दिया, और जैसे कि हमें हमारे सीनियर पुलिस ऑफिसर हैं उन्होंने बताया कि अपनी गांव में कैसे अपने ड्यूटी के बारे में हमें पहले भी बताया है, कैसे करनी है कैसे नहीं करनी है। हम अपने गांव में ही जहां हमें थोड़ा सेफ एरिया, खुद के लिए भी सेफ एरिया दिखता है, वहां पे हम जाके ड्यूटी लगाते हैं पहले सेफ एरिया, क्योंकि अगर हम खुद सेफ रहेंगे तो उसके बाद ही वहाँ अच्छे तरीके से ड्यूटी कर पाएंगे।
There have been several terror-related incidents in the region of Jammu Division over the last year. Defense experts say that the revival of village defense guards have led to an empowerment of local bodies, as panchayats are most suited to understand local dynamics in a conflict zone.
अपनी सेफ्टी और अपने गांव वासियों की सेफ्टी पर 24 घंटे अटल रहते हैं, अपना काम भी करते हैं और अजनबी लोगों पर नज़र भी रखी हुई है, ताकि हमें कोई ऐसा अजनबी आदमी जो ना पहचाना तो उसकी पूछताछ, उसका आधार, उसका पूछना है कि आप कौन है भाई, कहाँ से आए हैं, कौन हैं, कैसे हैं, उससे हमें डट कर मुकाबला करना पड़ता है। तो ऐसा अगर आदमी हो तो बस यही हमारी ड्यूटी है।
Pakistan is waging proxy war as it knows it can't win conventional one. However, India has made it clear that the path chosen by Pakistan will only lead to its defeat.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at NWSA@ANIN.com. This is Lipakshi Khurana signing off on behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.